Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the podcast all about mental health. Today's episode is going to be about acceptance. Now, a seemingly straightforward, simple topic is actually extremely complex and has a lot of factors to it. When I say acceptance essentially involves being completely aware, being self-aware of the predicament that you're in, of the environment you're in, and of the situation that you find yourself in. The more we accept whatever situation is among us, then we can deal with it. Why most people don't accept the situation is because if you don't accept it, then it's not real. It's that old saying that kids would always say, it's, if I don't see the monster, then it doesn't exist. If I hide under the blanket, then he can't see me. So the first thing we do whenever we're in a situation, whether we failed the test, problems with our partner, something's going wrong at school, is we face it. And the number one thing is acceptance. Okay, this is the situation that I'm in. And the best thing you can do if you have conflict brewing is you face it head on and you deal with it as quickly as possible. Especially for people who do not like confrontations, who do not like conflict. I'm talking to you. You need to deal with this as soon as possible. Because when we don't deal with things, when we don't accept them, guess what? They build up over time. And all of a sudden, drinking one Coke every day adds up. One fight with my girlfriend turns into 5 fights with my girlfriend, turns into 12 fights with my girlfriend. It adds up. And when it compounds, that's when it gets really, really tough. One of the first things that happens when you go to a counselor or to a therapist is they go, look, what are you dealing with right now? What's happening in your life? And you say, well, look, I'm in this situation. I'm in school. I'm really burnt out. Or me and my sibling aren't getting along. Or me and my father's relationship has never been really that great. And the first thing that the counselor guides you to do is to help you formulate your thoughts to fully understand why you're there. It is, not only is it possible, but it's extremely common for people to be upset and they don't know why. For someone to be angry and they don't know why. And then logically you try to figure it out and you can't. And that makes you feel even more upset, or that makes you feel even more angry. And then people will ask you, why are you so upset? You go, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So then you feel like you're upset for no reason. So then you think, I'm such an idiot. And guess what that thought does? It makes you feel even worse. Now you feel angry. And the cycle repeats. So the first thought is we want to formulate our thoughts, if we can, with a counselor. That's our first option. Second option would be just a family, friend, someone who you trust. Third option is just by yourself, sitting, thinking, writing. And the first thing that everyone has to do is we have to accept the situation. When, for example, there's this idea that, when the girlfriend leaves him, he just goes out and parties. He goes out drinking 3 nights in a row. He goes out in a nightclub and starts dancing. The problem with that is if we jump over acceptance and we go, no, forget about it. Yeah, well, it's not a big deal to me. A concern of ours is if you don't face it head on, if you do not deal with the confrontation at hand, it does not disappear. Not only does it come back later, but it comes back in a worse and darker way. One of the big things with victims of trauma, people who've gone through a terrible thing, maybe given them PTSD or has resulted in social anxiety disorders, is conflicts or something that was done to them, that happened to them, that has not been dealt with. That's why you have people who've had an event happen to them 5, 10, 15, even up to 20 years ago. And still, when they think about that issue, it makes them angry. It increases their heart rate. It makes them cry. And if you ever think about something that happened from a couple years ago and it evokes a strong emotional response, whatever that is, you haven't dealt with it. And the first thing to recognize is emotional intelligence, being like, whoa, I got really flustered thinking about that argument I had with my father 3 years ago. Why did it make me so angry just now? That was 3 years ago. What is there to say that hasn't already been said? Is there some unfinished business here? If so, how do I take care of it? Do I have to contact him? Do I have to just sit and think? What are the next steps forward? Acceptance is the groundwork. It's the foundation for moving forward. When you look in the mirror and you're not happy with what you see, the number one step is acceptance. And you go, okay, this is the state that I'm in. Now I can move forward. Imagine you're looking at a map, okay? And most maps, if you go to a park or something, they have all these, I forgot what the terminology is, but there's logos, like there's symbols, and then right beside them, they have labels. A circle means this. A square means the water fountain. A triangle means the park. And let's say they have the symbol and it says you, right? And you want to get to a certain beach, which is, let's say, the circle symbol. The problem is, without acceptance, it's as if we're trying to go to the beach, but we don't know where we are. There is no symbol which indicates you are here. So now you're thinking, do I go north? Do I go east? Do I go west? Do I go south? Am I close? Is it below me? Is it above me on that mountain? Where am I? Because if I don't know where I am, how can I know which direction to go to? And it makes it trickier because you don't know how long the trip is going to be. You might not know what supplies you need. You don't even know if there's a path from the position, from the place that you are in. So when we talk about acceptance, it really is the foundational, there's no way that you can ever move forward without accepting it. Now, when I say acceptance, a lot of people are going to think of it in a shallow manner, which is completely okay. Shallow manner being, so I'm a little overweight. Okay, so I accept it. So what? Or, so what if I've got an addiction to nicotine? So what? Okay, I accept it. Whatever. When we talk about acceptance in relation to changing a behavior, moving forward, bettering ourselves, and whatever that may be to you, acceptance is not only looking at something on the surface level, but understanding it for what it is. Saying, oh, maybe I drink pop a little bit too much. More in depthly, you're saying, maybe I'm not treating my body as well as I could be. And the consequence of that is I'm not feeling as good as I could be. I believe I could feel much better. I believe I could treat my body much better. And if I just stop doing the things that I know are setting me back, that I know are harmful, that I know are not good for me in the long term, how much better could I be in the future? You identify who you are. You identify who you could be. And you look at bridging the gap. But without identifying who you are right now in the present, my friends, there's nothing to talk about here. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you proud of who you are? And if the answer is yes, great. Be specific. About what? What are you proud of? What have you done? Who have you become? And if the answer is no, also be specific. What makes you say no? What are things that you feel like you should have done, or a person that you should be now that you aren't, or that you would like to be in the future? Acceptance is the very real realization of looking at yourself for not only all the good, but also all the bad. Recognizing the things about yourself that maybe you're not proud of. Or maybe something that you don't see a problem with, but other people, your friends and your family, maybe they've made comments about it. And then you got to use your own discretion and go, okay, look, are these justifiable comments? Are they coming from a place of love? Is it well-intentioned? Or maybe not. Maybe they're not well-intentioned. So you're listening to this maybe on audio form or maybe visually on YouTube, and you're saying, all right, Daniel, I accepted the damn problem, all right? My boyfriend cheated on me. I have a drug addiction, Daniel. I am addicted. It is what it is. I don't look the way that I want to look. I don't make the amount of money that I would like to make. I accept the situation. I accept it. Now what? What happens now? So what? I accept the situation. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Why is this of value? Now that we've accepted the situation, we can look forward. We can look at where we want to go. And the beauty of looking at ourselves first is we can better understand the steps necessary in order to get to where we want to get to. If you're a super buff guy and you want to be a bodybuilder, your steps of getting there are going to be different than someone who's never been in a weight room before, who wants to become a bodybuilder. And in doing that, we have a better understanding of the time it's going to take, the strategies, different approaches that we have to make, especially because they differ per individual, per their own lifestyle and their own experiences. And once you accept the situation, what happens? Why do I want you to accept the situation? Why? Who cares? My friends, when you accept the situation, you take on responsibility. When you look in the mirror, and look, there are certain things that are not in your control. 100%. If you've been abused by someone, if someone had an affair on you, certain things are not in your control. And it's not fair to you to take responsibility for the entire world. That's not fair. But there are things that are in your control. It could be as simple as making your bed in the morning. It could be as simple as brushing or flossing your teeth. How many cups of water do you drink a day? How often do you smile? When people are talking to you, do you give them your undivided attention? When you're meeting someone for the first time, do you look at them in the eye? These are little things that you could become aware of. And when we accept the situation, not only do we say, okay, it is what it is, you take responsibility and you say, look, if I'm not responsible for the entire situation, I at least played a role. I at least played a factor. If I am in school and I'm hating my studies, there has to be a level of responsibility that goes, look, I signed up. I'm the one who paid for tuition. I'm the one who said I wanted to study electrical engineering. So there's a level of responsibility there that we also take on. Look, if you want to make the world a better place, it's extremely simple. You need to be the best that you can be. And if you try to be the best that you can be, all that you are and all that you could be, if you just pushed yourself a little bit more, if you became self-aware, if you accepted your situation, if you took on a little bit more responsibility and you tried to be a little bit better, and if everybody just tried to be a little bit kinder and a little bit friendlier and a little bit more assertive and a little bit more of a leader, and yet in the same breath, a little bit more of a team player, we could have the world be a little bit better. How can you make the world a better place? Well, we can take care of the environment and we can start working out more and maybe we can... It's super simple. Be the best that you can be. If you work at Subway, take pride in your job. I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, Daniel, look, you can be the best Subway sandwich worker in the world or you can be the worst Subway sandwich worker in the world. They're both going to make the same amount of money if you're working at the same store. And he's not wrong. But the problem there is, I don't like the mentality of, and look, you got to be very careful not to take this in absolutes, because we do live in a capitalistic society where we have workers who get exploited. You can work your butt off, show up early, leave late, and people can take advantage of you. 100%. That's one aspect. So don't think I'm just saying blindly work yourself into the ground. But folks, I think there's something so beautiful when you take responsibility for whatever job you have. Let's say Subway sandwich worker. If I worked at Subway tomorrow, I want to be the best sandwich worker that I can be. What does the best sandwich worker look like? Well, first of all, he smiles. He looks approachable. He speaks in a kind manner to not only to the customers, but to his coworkers. He listens to his superiors and he asks questions where he needs to clarify. And if I could just be a little bit better and just be the best, be all that I could be. If instead of giving like a 5 out of 10, what if I just give a 6 out of 10? Or a 6.5, like whatever your thing is. I'm not saying you got to go to work tomorrow a changed man and have a big fake smile on your face, but you could be a lot better, right? And you're aware of that. And the difference is, do you want to put in the effort? Is it worth putting in the effort? And some people might think, well, look, Daniel, like your friend said earlier, I can be the best bus driver in the world. I'm still making the same amount of money. You're looking at reward as how much money is going into my bank account. Fair enough. I'm looking at the reward as the psychological impact that happens to you and the way you perceive the rest of your life. Meaning, if you understand that if you could be a little bit better, if you could be all that you can be, and think about how good you could be and the amount of people that would impact, simply by doing what you know is good. You know eye contact is a polite and professional thing to do when you're talking to someone. It's not like you don't know. And if you simply did the things that you knew were good and stopped doing the things that you knew were bad, you could be a little bit better. And if everybody did that, the world would be a little bit better. And you're going to say, oh, that's rose-colored glasses, man. You can't look at life super optimistic. Look, forget everyone else. There's a reason I'm in psychology, not in sociology. Just worry about yourself. Be the best son you could be. Be the best father you could be. Be the best high school teacher you could be. Be the best driving instructor you could be. Be the best spin class instructor you could be. Whatever you do, you rock it. And what we've just done is we've taken acceptance of our situation. Therefore, we take responsibility and we recognize if we are not responsible for everything, at very least we have a role to play. And if we have a role to play, that means we're not this passive agent that just goes throughout life when whatever you do has no impact. No, my friends, it's the opposite. Not only can we change the trajectory of our lives, but we can impact other people's lives. And when we begin to think like that, when we take responsibility, we understand that we have a level of autonomy. One of the big things that messes with people when they get burnt out from too much studying or too much work is a lack of autonomy. Because all the things that they're doing in their mind is, I'm doing this involuntarily because I have to, because my boss wants me to do it, because my prof wants me to do it. So what we want to do is we want to flip the script and we want to remind this individual that you're an autonomous individual. You can make choices of which classes to take. Now look, once you pick a class and the prof says you have a test on Friday, you can't say, I'm not going to do the test. So it's a give and take. I hate my girlfriend, Daniel. She's this, she's clumsy, she's snobby, she's arrogant. I'm like, brother, you picked her. For whatever reason, you looked at her one day and said, I'm interested in this person. You asked her out on a date. You paid for the date. It was great then. You didn't just end up in a 6-month relationship. No one ever said, oh my God, how did I get in this relationship? No one, ever. It happens slowly. 1 can of Coke a day. 1 pack of cigarettes a day. 1 date a week. You played a part in some way in the position that you are in. Whatever that may be. And when you accept it, when you take responsibility, you understand, if I did this, here's the kicker, I can undo this. If I entered this job that I don't really like, I can leave. If I entered this friendship that I don't really like, I can leave. So when we take responsibility, the troubling fact is that we have to burden and we have to carry all those negative things that we could have pushed off on someone else. You take responsibility for your bad habits. You take responsibility because you don't have a good relationship with your father. You take responsibility because you and your supervisor don't get along. And then once you've taken that responsibility, you understand that your behaviors rather, have an impact on your situation. And when that happens, you're going to change the way you look at life. And when you change the way you look at life, you're going to see things that you've never seen before. That will thus allow you to do things that you've never done before. I don't mean to sound super abstract and self-helpy, but seriously, you go to a counselor, this is a big thing that you'll find in, if you like what I'm talking about, YouTube Gestalt Therapy, Gestalt, Gestalt Therapy, or Existential Therapy. It's a lot of being in the present, being in the now, combined with taking responsibility. And once you realize how much impact your actions have, some people, they need a shock, they need a reminder to go, dude, you are in the driver's seat. Even though it may not feel like it, and I understand if you're a kid listening to this 13, 14, it's different. I get it. You've got parents. What I'm saying is not absolute. But the older you get, the more you realize there's a lot of things in your control. There's a lot of things that aren't. I want to say that. I prefaced that earlier. There's a lot of things that aren't. Mandates, Roe v. Wade. There's a lot of things you didn't have a say in. But for the things that you do have a say in, do not underestimate the impact that those have. You can choose how you wake up in the morning. You can choose if you look at your phone first thing or if you go to the bathroom first thing. You can choose if you work out at all. You can choose how often you hang out with your friends. And again, this differs by age, and it's not every single individual, but as a generalization. And when you recognize that you are in the driver's seat, the person to change your life is staring back at you in the mirror. You don't realize how powerful you are. And if you just did what you knew was right, you could be all you are and take advantage of all your strengths while simultaneously addressing your weaknesses. I'm not a very patient person. Awesome. Awesome. Because the first way to deal with something is to identify it. It's like, I'm not a good person. What does that mean? It's like, well, I could be a little more patient. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Okay. Why? Well, I think patience is a great virtue, and sometimes I'm waiting in line at a restaurant with my girlfriend. After 10 minutes, I start to mope and get mad, and I complain. She doesn't like it. I don't like how upset she gets. Okay. Being more patient would make you feel better about yourself, and it would help improve your relationship. How much do you care about your relationship? And if the answer is a lot, that's going to impact the amount of effort that you put into getting more patient. And you do that however you think is best. So acceptance is the foundation. We mix that in with responsibility. We recognize our autonomy, and we strive for the frickin' stars. That, my friends, on this positive note, is where I'm going to end this one. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please stay safe. Take care of yourselves. And if it's sunny wherever you're out, go out, enjoy the sun. If it's not, stay home. Make yourself some tea or hot chocolate. You deserve it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.